Okay, pause. Look at this thing. These tusks are growing the wrong way, like evolution literally installed the horns backwards. Imagine if your teeth decided to grow out of your chin instead of your mouth. That's what we are looking at here. Now, your first thought is probably, oh, this is just some failed prototype elephant that nature deleted, right? Some evolutionary rough draft. Wrong, dead wrong. This absolute unit was not a mistake. It was an empire. For 20 million years, Deinotherium, which literally translates to terrible beast, dominated the old world while regular elephants were still figuring their lives out. They did not fail. They won. And then the world changed the rules. This is the story of evolution's most metal experiment with elephants. Let's get into it. First, let's talk specs, because Deinotherium was not just big, it was make modern elephants look like house pets big. The largest species is widely known as Deinotherium proavum, though some colossal finds in Bulgaria are contenders for their own species name. Regardless of the label, they stood 4 meters tall at the shoulder. For my American friends, that's over 13 feet. But here's where it gets stupid. It weighed 13 tons. That is double the weight of an average male African elephant today. We are talking 2 full-sized elephants stacked into one body. Put it next to a school bus and they are eye to eye, except the bus is not trying to rip tree bark off with nightmare teeth. And here's the crazy part about how widespread these things were. We found their fossils everywhere, Spain to Kenya, Bulgaria to Greece, but the wildest discovery, the island of Crete. Yeah. Somehow these 13-ton behemoths made it onto Mediterranean islands. Either they swam, which terrifying mental image, or they walked across land bridges when sea levels dropped during ice ages. Either way, it proves this was not just a successful lineage, it was a dynasty, an empire that stretched across continents and hopped islands like it was nothing. The backwards empire did not just dominate, it explored. And those cursed tusks, 1.4 meters long. That's almost 5 feet of pure downward curving ivory jutting from its lower jaw like some kind of biological mistake. Except it was not a mistake. More on that later. Now check out the legs. They are columnar, built like support pillars. But here's the twist. They are proportionally longer and more slender than any modern elephant. This thing had legs. It could move, not charge you down fast, but definitely faster than you would expect from something weighing as much as 2 cars. And here's what makes it wild. These are not the stubby tree trunk legs you see on modern elephants. Deinotherium had what scientists call cursorial adaptations, basically legs built for walking. Long-distance efficient forest striding legs. They were marathon runners in a 13-ton body. Not fast sprinters, but endurance athletes who could cover massive territories without tiring. Think about it. If you are roaming endless Miocene forests, looking for the best feeding spots, you do not need to sprint. You need to walk for hours, for days, and those legs perfect for the job. The neck was also relatively long and flexible compared to modern elephants. Could lift its head up, crane it down, more range of motion, almost giraffe-coded if we are being honest. And the face flat, not cute elephant round, flat, like someone took a regular elephant skull and just compressed it. The whole head looks weirdly streamlined. Which brings us to the trunk. And oh boy, this is where paleontologists start throwing hands. See, we do not have soft tissue. Trunks do not fossilize. So scientists have to reverse engineer what the trunk looked like based on the skull alone. And they do not agree. Team Tapir, led by researchers like Markov, says, look at the skull. There's no big attachment points for massive trunk muscles. This thing probably had a short muscular trunk. Think Tapir, stubby nose tube. Team Elephant counters with, okay, but bro, look how tall this thing is. The legs are insanely long. Even with a flexible neck, how's it supposed to drink water without kneeling like a giraffe? The trunk has to be long enough to reach the ground. Both sides have receipts. Neither will back down. And you know what? That tension, that uncertainty makes it scarier because we legitimately do not know what this thing's face looked like. And that's nightmare fuel. So where does our backwards titan live? Let's time travel. It's the Miocene epoch around 10 million years ago. The world is hotter, wetter, and most importantly, it's covered in forests. dense, humid, endless forests stretching from Spain to Kenya. And Deinotherium, it's in its element. This thing is a specialist, not a generalist like modern elephants that can eat grass, leaves, whatever. Number. Deinotherium is locked into one diet: soft vegetation, leaves, young branches, tree bark, that's it. We know this because of the teeth. They are lophodont, meaning they have ridges and the enamel is thin, like designed for soft food, only thin. If Deinotherium tried to munch on grass like modern elephants, its teeth would have been ground down to nubs in a year. So how does it eat with tools? Those downward tusks, they are precision instruments. Step 1, hook the tusks under the bark of a tree. Step 2, pull, rip the bark clean off in long strips like you are peeling a banana. Or say there's a branch full of fresh leaves, but it's too high up. No problem. Jam those tusks under the branch and lever it down like a crowbar. Snap. Breakfast is served. And once the food's in range, that long, muscular tongue does the rest, grabs the leaves, pulls them into the mouth. Efficient, brutal, beautiful. This animal was a machine for turning forests into calories. And for 20 million years, that strategy was OP. Completely overpowered, unbeatable, until it was not. But before we get to the tragic ending, we need to talk about the drama, because paleontology is messy and Deinotherium is ground zero for academic beef. We already covered this, but it's worth repeating. Nobody knows what the trunk looked like. And it's not just a cosmetic detail. The trunk dictates behavior. A short trunk means it's bending down constantly using its neck flexibility. A long trunk means it's reaching up, plucking leaves from overhead branches. Completely different animals depending on who you ask. Science, we are not sure, lol. So you would think identifying different species would be straightforward. Measure the bones, compare features, done. Nope. Deinotherium taxonomy is a dumpster fire. For decades, scientists named every slightly bigger fossil a new species. D. gigantissimum, D. thraciensis, D. provum, all separate, all distinct. Then modern researchers showed up and went, yeah, these are all just big males of the same species, synonyms, delete them. But old sources still cite the separate names. Museums still use them. So depending on which book you read, Deinotherium either has 3 species or like 15. Nobody agrees. It's taxonomic anarchy. Okay, so early paleontologists looked at those downward tusks and came up with some wild theories. Maybe it used them to dig for roots, no evidence of digging behavior. Maybe it anchored itself underwater while sleeping. Why would it do that? This is not a crocodile. These ideas got clowned into oblivion. The bark stripping hypothesis is the current favorite, but here's the problem. The wear patterns on the tusks are not consistent. Some show heavy use, others barely scratched, and there's no sexual dimorphism. Male and female tusks are basically identical. So if they are not display weapons or mating signals, what are they? We do not know. And that ambiguity, that's the good stuff. That's what keeps scientists up at night arguing in conference rooms. All right, time for the tragedy. Remember how I said Deinotherium was built for one thing: soft vegetation, forest food. That hyper-specialization was its superpower for 20 million years. And then the world pulled the rug out. Starting around 7 million years ago, the climate shifts. It gets drier, cooler, and crucially, grasses start taking over. Not just any grass, C4 grasses, the tough, abrasive kind that grinds teeth down like sandpaper. The forests that Deinotherium depends on, they start shrinking, breaking apart into isolated pockets. And suddenly, this 13-ton eating machine is running out of restaurants. It cannot switch to grass, its teeth are too weak, it's locked into a dying diet. And here's the biological death sentence: Deinotherium molars are built like scissors. Specifically, they have a bilophodont structure, 2 sharp ridges designed to slice soft leaves like a paper cutter. Beautiful for tender vegetation, absolutely useless for grinding tough grass. Meanwhile, true elephants, the ones with horizontal tooth replacement like a conveyor belt, evolved teeth like millstones. Flat grinding surfaces that could pulverize grass all day without wearing down because new teeth constantly rotated in from the back. So when the world transformed into an endless grassland buffet, Deinotherium starved to death, surrounded by food. They had scissors in a world that required grinders. Evolution does not give second chances. So Deinotherium slowly gets cornered. In Europe and Asia, they are gone by around 2 million years ago. The forest vanished. They starved. But in Africa, one species holds on, Deinotherium bosasi. It survives until the early Pleistocene about 1 million years ago, way longer than its cousins. Why, we do not know. Maybe Africa still had enough forest pockets. Maybe they adapted slightly. Maybe they just got lucky. But here's where it gets really interesting. We found D. bosasi fossils in the same layers as early human ancestors, Australopithecus, early Homo at sites like Olduvai Gorge and Litoli. Imagine being a proto-human, barely figured out tools, and you share the landscape with this, a 5-ton nightmare elephant with backwards tusks. Did humans hunt them? We do not have clear-cut marks on the bones, no smoking gun. But the timing is suspicious. Humans show up with better tools, Deinotherium disappears. Coincidence, climate, murder, mystery. Pick your theory. Science has not closed the case. So what do we take away from all this? Deinotherium was not a failed elephant. It was a parallel empire, a completely different evolutionary path that worked brilliantly for 20 million years. They split from the main elephant lineage super early and went their own way, built their own niche, became the kings of the Miocene forests. Modern elephants did not beat them. Deinotherium just ran out of time. The game changed, and their evolutionary investment in specialization became a death sentence. 20 million years of perfecting the art of forest browsing left them with no escape route when the forests disappeared. But here's the haunting part. We have hundreds of fossils, complete skeletons, skulls from across 3 continents, and we still do not know what they looked like. The trunk is a mystery. The exact tusk function is debated. The cause of extinction is contested. Every museum has a different version. Every artist interprets the bones differently. There is no canonical Deinotherium, just educated guesses. And here's what makes it even more haunting. Our ancestors definitely saw them. In Africa, early humans shared the landscape with the last of these titans. They likely stood at the edge of the forest and watched these backwards giants strip bark in the twilight. Did they tell stories about them, paint them on cave walls, fear them, worship them? We will never know. Because the only thing Deinotherium left behind was bones, silent, frozen, and backwards. Thanks for watching. And remember, evolution does not care about perfection. It cares about timing. And sometimes your time just runs out. Until next time on Ancient Doc.